Is that tough for you now to, obviously I know you said you just done a presentation on it and stuff, mate, is it tough to think back to it and stuff? Do you still now all these years later, or?
Yeah, it is, it's a lot easier, don't get me wrong, to talk, and sometimes talking about it helps, but you know, you look back on that and that's your last game you ever play when you're 24, and everything you've ever worked for and dreamed about, it's just been taken away like that. And you know what, I knew there that I was done.
Really?
Yeah, even though I'd brought my tibia and my fibula didn't heal. My ankle was badly damaged and my knee was damaged in the same tackle.
Fucking hell.
And but I knew psychologically, I knew I was in trouble then, because I'd seen it happen to a couple of lads before. I'd seen it happen to Ben. Ben was a horror tackle. A lad at United called Graham Tomlinson, he got a bad one. It might have been a year before that.
Just before this episode starts, if you enjoyed the Leggett podcast, we produce 4 exclusive bonus episodes per month for our private members club on patreon.com. For the price of £1 a week, that's just £4 a month, the price of a beer or a fancy coffee. We produce these bonus episodes that have special guests on, various topics, and there's also merchandise offers and various bonuses you can have, competitions, all kinds. Get over there, support us, support the podcast by giving just £1 a week. Link is below.
This episode of the podcast is kindly sponsored by Feel Supreme. Feel Supreme have been sponsoring the podcast for a number of weeks now. They're an incredible company. They've got the most diverse range of supplements. I've got some here, the CBD, which I've been taking, which is brilliant. The mushroom extract as well, which I've been taking once a day. They've got vitamin D3, vitamin C, a huge range of different health supplements, and you can get 10% off if you go to the code below, go to the link below, which is feelsupreme.co.uk/Leggett, and you get 10% off by clicking through and going through their website through that link below. Please support them. They've been a huge support of the podcast. They've got the most incredible products that I take daily, myself and Andy take daily as well. So anything you can do to support them ultimately supports us. Everything CBD, vitamin D3, vitamin C, which is obviously vitamin D3 massive at the moment, and vitamin C obviously really important for immune support. So go to the link below, click through, and you'll get 10% off your order. Radio, it's a Leggett podcast with myself, Tom Wickstead.
It's me, Andy Grant, and this week's guest is Chris Casper.
Evening, how are you doing?
Thank you very much for your time, really appreciate it. An hour's travelled as well, so thank you very much.
Pleasure.
No, thanks so much, mate. So we just talk, and then we actually know each other. So you used to do some work for the Premier League. What was your role there?
So I was a club support manager, so part of bringing the new EPPP system in, helping the clubs and the academies bring that into the system, into the football system. So I'd work with a cluster of clubs like Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, Sunderland, and just basically be there as a support for them. But also did some coach education, and I think that's where we met, on the Brecca Beacons.
So I was employed by a friend of mine, set up a company who do basically put, if you like, civilian jobs in out the comfort zone, you'd say, wouldn't you, kind of thing. Bit of a team building, that kind
corporate
of stuff.
Sort of for corporate client, yeah.
And I got asked to go and do a talk there and some role playing things like that, and then that's when we met, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What did you think of all that? 'Cause I always think when you, same for you, Tom, I guess same question as well, but it's like when someone out the corporate, maybe it's different for you because you're sport as well, but someone out of the corporate environment or basically just a non-military environment gets thrown into this. What's that like? Is it something that you enjoy, is it, or what?
Well, I was told that all the coaches, so there was one coach from every Premier League academy, so it's I think it was 20 coaches there, and they all got split into groups of 5, I think, and they'd go out and they got given tasks to do over the days, over the 2 days, and they'd done it the year before, and one of the groups had gone missing. It's supposed to be doing like a 60k hike or something. They ended up doing about 30k and got lost on the Brecca Beacon. So they'd curtailed it a little bit and shaped it a little bit, but they said this year a Premier League staff group can join in, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a go at this. I was just doing the marathon at the time, I was training for the marathon, so I'd got that buzz about me and that, and So I was getting close to it, and I'd heard the stories from the year before, and I knew how tough it was going to be. And I'm thinking, I'm really having to psych myself up, and the adrenaline started pumping. And so on the day, I've got all my kit with me, and then I got told I couldn't do it, and I was gutted.
Why couldn't you do it?
A couple of the Premier League staff had dropped out. Someone had got an injury or whatever, blah blah blah. I'm not sure whether the bottle had gone
sock or something.
Right at the end, and we didn't have enough to. And so I said, well, I'll join a couple of another group. And he said, no, you can't do that. They've been hand-picked really because of the skill set of that group. Someone can do such and such. This person can do other skills and things like that. So I was gutted, but we still went out onto the mountain and joined the groups as they went around and watched and whatever. And they were struggling. They were mentally. They got taken to a place. I mean, I was struggling at the time just to keep up with them, and we got some sleep. They weren't sleeping.
It's quite intensive, yeah.
They weren't eating. Jesus. They were hardly, they're eating these packs of food,
the rations,
ration and things like that.
Yeah.
And they were done. They were really struggling.
It's a good setup that they have, and then I do kind of a little motivational talk and stuff on team building, and
it's always funny with corporate. I've only ever been to one corporate thing. I say corporate day out. It's like team building, isn't it? And there's the classic like raft building and all that sort. And I always imagine the only time I've ever done it, it's like a company really. I mean, it's different from in football, but like a company is a collection of people that I'd say like maybe 50% don't really they wouldn't go out of their way to go on and socialise with them, and it's this weird collection of people. You got I always say like Sandra from accounts, and then like Mark from sales. Is all it's all like these different dynamics. And I did the raft building. I think we were paintballing actually as well, which is interesting. Yeah.
There was one incident, and it was Torre Andre Flo.
I remember him being on it.
So they were told to go into this building, and we were part of the staff really who were running it. So we got told, listen, there's going to be a hostage taken. So we were watching to see how it panned out and whatever. Anyway, these two guys just walked into this building. Anyway, they dragged this lad out and taken him to this like remote house, and the other group got told, right, you need to go and negotiate his release. Somebody has to negotiate his release. So this guy from the staff's got this hostage, and he's going, I'm going to blow his head off. I'm going to kill him. What is his name? And Torre Andre Flo goes, please, just calm down, please. He is our friend. All right then, what's his name? Please, honestly, just calm down. Please, we want our friend back. Come on, tell me what his name is. And Torre turns around to the group, and you can hear him go, what's the lad's name? He goes, you don't even fucking know his name. I'm going to kill him. He was brilliant. World Cup, lad that scored against Brazil in the World Cup quarter-final, and he absolutely crumbled. We were killing ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like a good day out, that.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
They're really good to like I mean, it's my mate's company, and they when they need people to come on work, it's great just to see people out of the comfort zone like that.
They were stretched. They were.
Did they give you did they give him any advice of if there's a hostage taken, this is what you're meant to say, or you're not meant to give you the name, or? Yeah, no, they got told what to do, and I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was you, Andy. That there was a shout went out that there'd been an accident.
Oh yeah,
it was you, wasn't it?
Taking my leg off.
It was you, right, honestly. So the
mate, proper role play, mate.
Proper the staff, and this is like 11 o'clock at night, and the staff are watching, and the shout's been out. There's been an accident. You need to get there, and we look like there's somebody really seriously injured. Real life or training?
No, all training.
It was on the training. Yeah. So we're all hiding behind these bushes and that. So the group, there's about 5 of them walking down. So they're walking down, and they've been told that there's a serious accident. So they're looking around and blah blah blah. He's lying in the road and he's taking his leg off, and this guy goes, "Fucking hell, he really has lost his leg." And the shock and the panic that went through the group, it was honestly...
There's blood everywhere and all that.
Fake blood and everything.
They're getting me on a stretcher, taking me in and all that. Like, you're going to be all right, Andy. And I'm like, my leg. It's good, like, yeah. So that's how me and Chris first met.
Yeah. That was a good story.
Yeah.
Good time meeting.
For me, mate, it's always... like Starstruck's a bit, no disrespect, Starstruck's too thingy, but when I first saw your name and like Sator Andre Flo, me just being a massive footy nut, it's like, fucking hell, like, I remember fucking, like, growing up and playing on Champ Manager and stuff and seeing all these names, and it's like, fucking hell. And so on that note, going back to your route into it, you ended up in the Premier League, obviously football, I'm guessing just like me, just kid growing up loving football, that's all you wanted to do. Was that your kind of start to...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my dad was a player in the 60s and 70s for Burnley, so I always grew up with football. You know, Saturday was always, you know, my dad was he got injured when he was 28, retired when he was 30, but then went into coaching and management, and you know, so like I say, Saturday was always football day for me anyway.
Just on that, mate, just to interject there quickly, me and Tom, it's fascinating, it's come up a few times with different people we've had on, with your dad being that, was he, so two questions, was he like this, and also what are your views on it? Because we've had it before, haven't we, with the
Serena
whole,
Williams,
we used that example. Was he like the Serena Williams dad, like pushing you, come on, you've got to do this, or was it like, listen, if you want to do it, you can do it?
No, the second one, completely left to my own devices. Not so much left to my own devices, but it was my choice. But he was always there to help and guide. So after a game, you know, we'd sit in the car and we'd talk, you know, a school game or town team game or whatever, and just talk about the game. And I think that's where a lot of my learning took place, because he was an experienced guy, played at the top level. You know, Burnley in the 60s and 70s were one of the top 6 or 7 clubs, really. So he knew what he was talking about, but he was never critical, always supportive, as my mum was as well. Would come and watch as many games as possible, and yeah, it was just that, you know, that support that you needed. There was never any, you need to do this, you need to do that, that's not good enough, and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the case. It was always
quite relaxed.
Yeah. You know, if you needed telling and say, look, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, I think kids these days, as soon as they hear a not good enough, that's not good. Yeah, they go into the shell or you know, the crumble or whatever. Sometimes, you know, listen, that wasn't good enough. You know, you need to do this, you need to do that. Very rarely, but sometimes you just need that little bit. A bit of a jolt, like, you know, because life's like that, isn't it? You know, it's not everything's plain sailing and everything's nice and whatever. Sometimes you need a bit of reality check as well. But invariably, it was always constructive and, you know, really.
Probably with his background as well. Unlike, you know, if I don't know, say if I was growing up and my dad obviously doesn't have a football background, is that he's probably aware, your dad, of the, what's the right phrase, of how rare it is, and maybe not how rare it is, but how hard it is, and somewhat of a realist, you know, versus maybe some other kids, as soon as they get into an academy or something, they think, right, he's going to, you know, next they see all the kids driving around with, I don't know, Ferraris or whatever, and they think, I want a piece of that. And there's a little bit more realism, maybe. Yeah,
having been, like I say, gone through it himself. He was an apprentice when he was 15 at Rotherham, made his debut when he was 16. So, you know, he's gone through it himself, come from a, you know, big family as well. It's 3 brothers, 3 sisters and that. So he found it tough, and he knew what you needed to do and the way to go about it. And, you know, I always thought, like I say, when he was coaching at Bury and, you know, managing at Burnley and that, I was 11 or 12, I was training with the youth team, and then, you know, when he was at Burnley I was 14, 15, and when the youth team weren't, and I was training with the first team, so I was getting them experiences as well. And, you know, you likes of you know, John Deary's and people like that, experienced pros, Joey Jacob, they ain't taking any prisoners, that's their livelihood. Yeah. So they're not taking it easy on the manager's son, and sometimes they go a little bit harder on you. Like, so, but it was a great life experience for me, and, you know, it really matures you as a player. Like,
what was it like then when you were going back to kind of your school team? And that was there an age or a time, a period where you were like, I'm a lot better than people my age, like, or the kids on the street, whatever, or in my school class? You kind of thought, nah, I'm miles better than these, kind of.
I went to a village school called Cliviger in the primary school. So when I was 11, I went to a school in Burnley called St Theodore's, which was a good, real good sports school. So Jimmy Anderson went there, and the lad played for Sunderland, John Mullin and 1 or 2 others. So, but it was really sporty, and that's why I went. But it was a tough school, you know, typical Burnley school and all boys school and that. So it was,
and you just say Burnley, when, like, I know Liverpool's in the north, but I think Burnley's just got that northern feel.
Even more northern
it's
than
just
Liverpool,
like proper northern school.
So when I first went, I knew, you know, there was a lot of good players there, and got the captaincy of the school team, and played for the town team, and always a lot of times played up. But the year that I really improved was the second year when I was 12. So on a Sunday, all my mates were playing for the under-13s because that was their age group. I played the under-14s for a team called Barrowford Celtic, and a lot of my mates played for them. But that was a real time when, you know, you're playing against an older kid, a year older than you, really challenges you. Probably that was the time, round about that time. And then I got into the Burnley town team, and then when you're playing against kids your own age, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's a lot. You know, it is a bit easier than playing against kids who are a year older than you. And that's when I got spotted off the United scout Joe Brown, playing for. Joe used to be my dad's first team coach at Burnley, so they had a relationship, and he'd just come watching the game for United. He was scouting, and just asked me to go for a trial over a week.
Did you know Joe was there from United when you were playing? No idea. No, I didn't really know him, to be fair, because I've not really seen him before. And, sure.
And, you know, I was born after my dad finished playing, so no, I didn't.
Was you a United fan, Chris, or?
I was a Burnley fan up to my dad getting sacked in '83. What he'd done to my dad's a joke. So I went over.
That's fair enough, I guess. Yeah.
So I supported United. So yeah, I watched United in the '83 Cup final against Brighton. Brian Robson took them apart, really. That in the replay at Wembley, they won 4-0. So I got into United from then on, really. So.
And is this how old were you now? How old were you when you got spotted then? Sorry, 16?
No, I was 13, 14.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, so a lot earlier, yeah.
And really what happened was that you go in, I went in a couple of school holidays and that, and then they called my dad in and said, look, you know, we want to offer Chris a 6-year contract. It was a 2-year school.
6 years?
Yeah.
At that age, yeah?
Yeah.
That's got to be unheard of, that.
Yeah, 2 years scholarship. 2 years schoolboy, 2 years scholarship, and 2 year pro.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And no one, surely, because we've had a few footballers on, that's unheard of, that, surely.
Yeah, that was for Alex Ferguson. You know, Sir Alex really putting his marker down on you. I wasn't the first. You know, there was other lads who'd got offered that. You know, David Beckham and one or two others and what.
There's other lads who get David Beckham.
There's a few names thrown in there, isn't there?
Yeah,
I watched. So, I mean, was Alex Ferguson then what he's known? Obviously not known as now, but I mean, even then, when kind of, because I'm thinking, are you knowing then? I say 13, 14. Alex Ferguson's offering me 6 years, or is it like, oh, this fella Alex Ferguson? Is it still like Alex Ferguson? If you get me.
Yeah, he was always, you know, he was always the gaffer. You knew he was. When you were, like, say, in the trial games or in the trial training but the training sessions on during the week and whatever, he'd come down as much as possible and get to know the kids. I mean, he's unbelievable. Getting to know the lads, and it made you feel special. You know, and it costs nothing, does it? You know, and building that relationship up with, you know, your parents and yourself, and knowing your name. Knowing your name is really important. Yeah. It's really powerful. Massive. That, you know. Yeah. So he was always around, even from, like I say, from an early age. You know, you always knew him as the manager, and you know, he was always that that figure really of the club. That it just started to turn the corner. Really, they won the cup in 1990, and then obviously the Cup Winners' Cup, and then the year after lost the league to Leeds pretty badly. Really, we should have won the league, and then the year after we obviously won the Premier League. So, but yeah, that was a stage really where he had a lot of transition to make. When he came in '86, he had a lot of changes to the club to make. And that was really the start of it, like I said, right at the end, 88, 89, and obviously, like I say, with the cup winning 99.
And when you get, obviously you go to United training ground and obviously you sign, you do all the signatures and everything. Does your dad then change his sort of thing from being a bit more relaxed back in the sort of early years to going, okay, no, like we could, you know, you could be onto something here?
No.
Still say relaxed and wasn't
things, yeah, just helping out, supportive words. 'Cause he trusted the coaches. You know, he'd known Brian Kidd and Nobby Stiles for years, and Eric Harrison. So he knew, he knew I was in good hands, like, you know. And I remember, I think United played at it was either a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and we were in, and United played Aston Villa at night, and in the morning they came in for a bit of a, just a bit of technical work, just a bit of a warm up really, and what they call like a rondo box where it's 2v8 and just keep the ball moving and that. And the lads who were there wasn't that many of us. There was only 3 or 4 in at the time. We trained with the first team. We were 14.
14, yeah.
You got Mark Hughes and Brian Robson and people who still got posters of it in your wall, training with them. Again, it was so powerful. It was like, I don't want to go anywhere else. I mean, it was United anyway for a start, but when you can see flipping heck, this is real stuff. Like for a 14, 15-year-old, it was powerful stuff, really powerful.
At what time, when you're training with these now, was there a point in your mindset where you thought, right, I'm kind of making a career in the game now? Alex Ferguson's offered me a 6-year deal. I'm training, getting a chance to train with Robson. Is your mindset now? I'm kind of on the right road here.
Yeah, definitely. When I was at school, it was like, right, that's not so much taken care of, but I was just focusing on doing as well as I could do at school, because your careers meeting with the careers officer at school lasts not very long.
10 minutes.
You're already sorted, But I was driven by. I didn't have to be driven by her, but my mum was always the one that kept me grounded as well, and not that she had to very often, but keep your feet on the ground and make sure your studies are done properly and your homework and everything like that. And I just got on with it and wanted to get as best grades that I could do in my GCSEs. So from there up to there, it wasn't a fact of, well, I've sorted for the next 6 years anyway. I've really got my head down and worked hard at school really, and got some decent grades, which was important to me, and I needed them further in life.
Yeah, and that obviously you were part of that class of '92. You were captain as well, was you not?
No, we actually Simon Davis.
Right.
Simon Davis was the captain until Ryan played. Ryan played in the semi-final at Old Trafford against Tottenham. He was captain for that, and then we played at Palace in the final. In the first leg, Ryan didn't play, and then he played in the second leg against Palace at Old Trafford, and he was a captain. But I was captain of the youth team sometimes, and the A team and that, and that's when the development really took place, because you 17, 16, 17, the A team was an open age group. So you play against Bolton or Rochdale, they'd be playing pros, experienced pros as well, who, weren't going to get messed about by some flipping upstarts from Man United playing on the cliff. Like it was tough, but great grounding, really good grounding. To you're not playing against like for like. You come through your school life, you're playing against 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds. You're playing against the same kids, but now you're playing against men, and it was tough. And you got a chance to go into the reserves as well, and I remember one of the first games playing against Alan Shearer, and he was coming back from injury.
How old are you at this point, Chris?
17, 18. He was just come back from his...
It's young, isn't it?
Yeah, from his cruise ship. And I was one of them that, I was quite mature for my age, because obviously with the conversation I had with my dad and the experience that I've had. So, and I was thinking, I know what's coming. I know Shearer, what he's going to be like, and he's, I know, he's a quality player. And I thought, I don't give a shit. The first chance that I got, it's 9 months. This is his first game back in 9 months, coming back from a cruise ship. The ball got played up to him and just went straight through the back of it. He could do it in those days. He went absolutely mental at me.
Did he?
Yeah.
Really? What did he say?
Bonkers. What the fuck are you doing? I was, okay. Fucking just got up. And then he ragged me a few times and messed me about. But I thought,
nothing to lose.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the mindset I guess you needed to have. You've got a kind of people watching you as well, aren't they? Looking for your development as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And we won the game 1-0. I played centre half against Shearer and kept a clean sheet. He should have scored. He did miss a decent chance, but you take it, and that's your chance to shine. Like the manager's there and whatever. There would have been a lot of scouts at the game, and that's your chance.
That youth setup that you've got there, that's a lot of yous went on to do amazing things. Are you aware then at that time that you're surrounded by some players who are unbelievable? Because I guess it's hard, isn't it, to know how good you are at the time.
Yeah.
Is it clear to see that fucking hell, there's some ballers here?
Yeah. No. I'd say for the first 2 years, you didn't. There was only one really, and that was Giggsy. He was playing in the first team when he was 16, and he was a completely different, athlete altogether. The way he ran, the way, he could manipulate the ball, his skill and everything. But the rest were like, we were just lads really, and just thrown together from Wales and from Scotland and Ireland and London, and then the Northwest lads, myself and Gary and Scholesy and Butty and John O'Kane, and probably the best player out of our group at that time was Ben Thornley.
Really?
And Ben was a top player, and he was 94. We got through the semi-final of the FA Cup, and he was going to be on the bench on the Sunday, and he played in a game on the Wednesday before against Blackburn in the reserves at Bury. He was only supposed to play for an hour, and just on the hour mark, he started running with the ball, and the pitch was terrible. It started bouncing. It was like called Nicky Marker wiped him out and basically smashed his knee to bits, cruciate and everything. He was out for a long time. He was out for nearly 2 years. He was lucky to play again.
Jesus.
So I think it was Jonathan Noble, the specialist, and got him back. But he wasn't the same player. But Ben would have been a top player.
It's so sad, little stories like that, isn't it? You think.
Yeah. But then in the first year, we were there. Scholesy didn't train an awful lot. He's got asthma, he's got Osgood Slatterus and things like that. So we got through to the second year, and you can see, flipping out, where's this lad come from? Like, he's a proper good player. And by by the time he's 19, he's a regular in the first team. But at the time when you're 16, 17, there wasn't anybody. John O'Kane was another good player, but the likes of myself and Gary and even Bex for the first year, he was only just a small kid. In the second year, he really shot up. But you weren't thinking flipping heck. You knew they were decent enough players, but not there.
Stand out, yeah.
Nowhere near going to go on to the careers that they were going to have.
Like, one thing I'm always fascinated with, and it'd be so interesting to hear your take on it, given the kind of legends you spoke about with like Robsons and all that, when you got the odd chance to train with them, is the kind of old school mentality and how that changed. And you will have seen it change now with your involvement in football. But for example, in the Marines, when you turned up and you were a new lad, fuck me, like you got, and it probably wasn't even as bad when I done it, but it was still bad. You got called Sprog. When they'd be on the training team or be on the landing, there'd be like 60 recruits, and they'd go, Nod, because the nickname was a Nod, because you'd just be nodding off all the time. You were that fucked throughout training. So you just shout Nod, and then they'd go 5, 4, and someone had to be there, and then it'd be like, right, fucking make me a cup of tea, or like, from little things like that to just fucking basic bullying is the only way you fucking call it, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't change it for the world, because it fucking made you appreciate it more, and all it brought you togetherness and all that kind of stuff, and it was good. Obviously, political correctness and that, I don't think it goes on as much now, or it's certainly swept under the covers. I know you've heard stories back on what football was like then. I'm sure you've probably got a few, there's probably tons you can't even say, but did you kind of appreciate that, did you? And do you think there's still a room for it now in the game, or are you glad that side of it's gone, or did you have any bad experience, good experiences of it? What do you think?
We went into a dressing room, the youth team dressing room, with a bit of a history of it. With all respect, it wasn't nice at times. You got lads there. It wasn't. It was an initiation, but it went on and on and on. Or they tried to, but we were a strong group, and it had been, like I say, it had been in place a few years. The older kids would get the younger kids to do things, and something daft like, I don't know. We had one where everyone's in the dressing room, and right, it was this lad's turn or whatever. So they get this mop and they put it in the corner. And you had to go and chat them up, or you had to pretend you were in a nightclub. You had to walk through the door dancing, and then you're going to have to chat them up. Like, you're 16 years old, like, you've hardly chatted the girl up before anyway, and you've never really been in nightclubs and that, and things like that. There wasn't a lot of physical stuff, to be fair, but it was bordering on I won't say bullying, but
it's like humiliation kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. But we had when you got people like Butty and that, and you try and get him to do something, and he just said to the lad, "You better stop." And I was like, "I'll sort you out, mate." And that was it. And the year after, I was never that bothered about getting lads to do stuff, and just got no interest in it. To be fair, I know what it's like to be, to there was another one I did where you just got to walk in and then all of a sudden you just got to do like funny movements for about 30 seconds and just act like a total flipping lunatic for 30 seconds, which again is not me, but someone like Robbie Savage, actually you couldn't get him down. He loved it, did Sam. So yeah, but I know what you mean. It can be.
I think it's good in parts. I think because when we done one, I probably told this story a million times. But a funny one that we had like that was they blindfold you, they put boxing gloves on you, and face each other, and they'd say, right, when we blow the whistle, go. But what they do is they'd have a mop with a boxing glove on from someone outside, so they'd face you two up, but then they'd hit you from the side, so you'd turn round and you'd just be doing this, and then the other person would be doing that, and it's fucking hilarious to watch.
Yeah.
And so there's fun stuff, but then I know what you mean, sometimes it goes a bit too far, and my mate had a pretty rough time of it, and really old school, lads who've been in the Marines 15 years, in the like late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
My mate turns up 18, 19, and they were like, every day we want a full English breakfast every morning, mate.
Yeah.
Fucking lads getting up at like 6:30 in the morning, 7 to make 4 lads breakfast every day, and it's like
every day.
And then in the end, it got to a point like you said, what Butty done? He just said, "Listen, I'll fucking fight one of you because I'm not doing this every day." And he ends up going outside as a straightener with this lad, and I think from that day, I think he got battered in his straightener. This lad ends up being on the boxing team or something, but I think it eased off a bit, and I think it's good in some ways, but it definitely can go too far in other ways.
Yeah, I think the tradition now is that they sing a song, which they just stand up in, if you're on your first away trip, if you're a new player, then you sing a song. And I think that's probably as far as it goes.
Yeah. The only reason I'm fascinated by it in the sense, and you summed it up perfect, is I think it's gone, when I've done work in the academies, it's kind of gone too far the other way now, where it's just strolling around at like 16, 17 with like boot dealers and agents as if they maybe won the World Cup. And I always think, I wonder if they had a bit more of that initiation, would they not maybe walk around as high as they quite are? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And in our time, someone got a bit too big for the boots, they'd get sorted out. I mean, they'd get put down and that, and humiliated really, just to keep you grounded.
Of course.
So I know what you're saying. It's I mean, my lad's he's just signed for Burnley now, and I wonder, he's a mature lad, real mature lad, good mixer with his own group and whatever, but he's now mixing with older age group as well. Been going in on day release, and that's what they call it these days when you leave, miss a day of school and you go and train. And I've always wondered, 'cause when I did that at United, it was like you just sat there and just. Hopefully you never got spoken to really, because that was just the way it was. And I'd say to him, how's it been? Yeah, it's good. How's the lads? Yeah, they're fine. Yeah. And I can tell he's all right. I'd be able to. And you think, how would you have managed like 30 years ago? Carnage.
Yeah.
I presume you're not that pressuring dad, then, are you, Chris? Like. With your son, you're just just the same as what your dad was like.
I'm the same. Because I know the feeling of growing up and trying to get that next contract and that, and it's I'm not saying they're trying to just take all the lads put themselves under the any kind of pressure. What I don't like seeing is, he's been at Burnley for 4 years, and there's been some really good parents, but I do know. Working for the Premier League, some of the parents, there's some horror stories. Like I say,
really?
I never really saw it at Burn. I didn't see it, but I do know, like I say, when I used to watch some games of the Premier League, some of the parents were terrible, and they were putting so much pressure on the kid that at the end of the kid either crumbled or fell out of love with the game.
Yeah, just didn't want to do it anymore. No.
You can't have that. Just let them play. Just let them, and be there for a supporting word and a well done, and well done for effort and things like that. Don't push them too hard, and don't live your dreams through your kids. That's the most important.
Yeah, it's good.
I have seen that.
I know you've done a Man City talk, haven't you, to some of the academy lads, haven't you?
Yeah, Man City and Liverpool and England as well. Yeah, and it's all about the same things. Of it's just such a tough world, isn't it? That academy of getting told it's such a fine balance act, and I don't know what the right answer is, but it's like you got to put enough pressure on them to kind of be like, right, you need to make this, you need to be at these levels and all this, and focus them so much on it, but then go, but if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And it's like, how can you tell someone to put everything into something, and you've got to live and breathe it, but then at the same time that still might not be good enough. It's
Yeah.
fucking really tough, isn't it? So I was kind of just going there with my story, saying, look, you know, if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. You know, my life, fucking, I got blown up one day, and actually I'm all right now, type thing. And but obviously, when you're a 16-year-old lad, you're not really interested. All you want to do is play football, don't you? And make a career of it.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. Did you play football?
Yeah, I had trials at Liverpool's academy when I was 13.
What year was that?
I must have been.
Who was your age group?
I must have been about in like 99, 2000. It would have been around that time.
Right.
I only had like 2 trials. I wouldn't even be able to know any names. I was like good in school and all Sunday league. Every team I played in, I always held my own, got player of the year and stuff. And then I got these trials at Liverpool's academy, and
you're like, fucking
got
hell.
my ass handed. Like, that's why I asked you before about, like, did you always feel better? Because I always felt like if I was on the park with my mates or in school, whatever, I was always like better than all right. And then I just remember this one game and was like, it's fucking impossible. I can't get it. Like, so people were faster, bigger, stronger, and I was just like, wow, I'm not going to be a footballer after this.
Yeah.
It's just one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it.
I pulled up for people on YouTube. People can see this. I've got, mate. That must have been a special time here with you putting that shirt on.
Yeah, it was. I remember the first time I pulled it on, actually, in a friendly game against Aston Villa on the Cliff. And as I pulled it on, I thought, you know, what a feeling.
That's quality, that, isn't it?
I'll never forget that.
So did you sign a 6-year deal, and then did you end up signing another contract after that? Then did you? Or
yeah. So the agreement was the first 2 years was they used to be associate schoolboys, which they weren't worth the paper they were written on, but it was like an agreement. So the contract started from when I was 16. So I got 16 scholarship and then the 2 years pro. At the end of the scholarship, the 2 years apprenticeship, there was 8 of us got offered an extra 4 year contracts.
Was that the more proud moment when you got that extra 4 years then? I'm sure it would have been at the start as well, but knowing that you got the 4 years, you proved yourself a bit enough for them to go, look.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't know. I remember seeing it in the paper. So basically, I was living at home with my mum and dad, and it was in all the papers.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, and there'd been talk about it, but nothing's, you know. And my mum just opened the paper. She went, "Have you seen that?" And like beaming, like, you know, she was proud and everything. I went, and I never forget. I just went, "Oh yeah," and that was it. Really, it wasn't like flipping heck. You know, it was. I don't know. It was
strange that though.
Really, yeah. Because what happened was in the start of the second year, because we won the youth cup, and we had a young team. We then came back in the next year, in the second year, and we were beating everybody outside. And we used to play at the Cliff, and we'd start of the season. There'd be probably about 50 people there watching. By about 3 months in, there was about 300 people around the pitch watching us because the word was getting out there.
What year is this? Like 92, 93?
92, 93, yeah.
What was it like winning that youth cup then with that team? Because obviously it's famous now. Alan Hansen's saying the famous kind of, you know, you'll never win nothing with kids, and all of the views coming from that. It's what was that like? That youth cup?
It was fantastic. It was brilliant. You know, the night that we won it was a Friday. It was strange because we played the first game down at Palace, and it absolutely banged it down. It was horrendous. They had a keeper called Jimmy Glass, and you'll know, you might not know the name, but when I tell you that he scored the winning goal to keep Carlisle in the league.
Oh yeah.
He scores right at the end.
It's this YouTube clip on, isn't it? I think
he'd come forward from it. They needed to win the game, and it's the last game of the season, and they're drawing 1 each or 2 each, whatever. And the ball lands him and he smashes it in, and the scenes are brilliant.
Can I find it on here? Will it be on here?
Oh yeah.
They're on YouTube,
What am I typing in?
It would be Jimmy Glass goal, I would have thought.
And he was the keeper then, was he? Yeah, for Palace.
He was the keeper for Carlisle. He'd left Palace to go on loan, I think.
Look at the scenes of it.
Jesus Christ,
man.
This one.
That'll be just 52 seconds.
Carlisle's Great Escape.
Yeah.
Carlisle's Great Escape.
And he was nuts with Jimmy, because I played with him at Bournemouth when I went there on loan. Great lad. but he used to boom it a mile as well. And even the youth team, I mean, Palace were flipping horrible to play against in the Youth Cup final. We'd beaten the best team, really, Tottenham in the semis. They've got a really good team. Really good team.
Right, let's play
Sol
this.
Campbell and Darren Casper. Nick Barmby. Nick Barmby played for them.
Yeah, for Spurs.
Yeah.
So here he is.
They're waiting at the McCain Stadium with bated breath. There is 1 minute to play at Bramley Park. I hope this is accurate news, so Carlisle fans say Carlisle have scored.
What a feeling he must. Oh,
Jesus Christ.
you'll never have to buy a beer again in Carlisle, will he?
No, that's brilliant.
So he was the keeper in the youth team, yeah.
For Palace, yeah. I don't know if you've ever been to Selhurst Park. It's a small pitch, and he boomed it literally from one end to the other. They got a big lad called George in the Dar playing up front, and good lad George, played with him for England, but he was quick, he was strong, he was big, and it caused us all kind of problems. And we beat him 3-1 on a really bad night. But the time between the games, there was about a month. So normally you'd play the first leg of the Youth Cup final, and then you play it the following week. It was a month, so you kind of, you've got half your hand on the trophy, but you know that we've got to play at Old Trafford, and we've still got a young team, and hopefully we can hold it together. So training was defending set pieces, defending, a lot of defending, bloody blocks. You know what they're going to do? They're going to lump it in there, whatever. But so we're all ready for going for the game, and that. Eric goes out before we go out. Remember what we've been working on? Throw your head at it. But defend properly. 2 minutes in the game, they score from a corner. It's like, whose man's that? And but his man like that. Eventually, Ben Thornley scored after about half an hour, and it settled us down. And then we went on to win that game 3-2, I think. Won it quite easily in the end, but it was a bit like airy for the first half hour of that game. It was, yeah.
And Chris, I remember Peter Crouch saying, like when he was on the coach to wherever a game or whatever, he would like just wish that he was someone else. As weird as that sounds, but he'd see people in the bar enjoying themselves as he's driving, obviously to the get in the coach to the game. Did you ever have any of that, like just complete dread? And we've had it before when you go to job interviews, and I just want to do some of the pressure and
I mean, I played against Wimbledon in the Cup, 97 at Old Trafford. And the manager told me on either the Tuesday or the Wednesday that I was going to play. There's a long time to wait that. So, and you as you're getting closer to the game, your nerves are building up, and it gives you a bit of it does give you confidence, no question about it. But then it's Friday, and you're training with obviously trained all week with the first team and that, and then you're marking. We was doing some set pieces, and I was marking Cantona from set pieces, and he's a big lad. He's Eric. But he was getting himself ready for the game. He played in the game, and I went up for a challenge with him. But with it being Friday, I held back a little. I didn't want to injure him or injure myself, whatever. He went, "Hey, no!" And I thought, I was going to give it me here. He went, "You got to be strong. You got to be strong." And he had a bit of a go at me, So I was like, getting myself revved up for the game. And then on the morning of the game, that was the worst part. The morning of a game is just flipping horrendous, because you get up at normal time, probably 8 o'clock, something like that, and then you've still got 5 hours to go.
Wait.
7 hours, 8 hours, however long it is. But it's that wait, and you get to a certain time, and you think, I just can't wait to get going and whatever. And you're driving in, and you think, hang on a minute, I've worked. This is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to play at Old Trafford in front of full house. What are you afraid of? You start thinking, just go and play. What's the worst that can happen? You have a nightmare. So what? It's not the end of the earth. And so that's what happens, I think, to a lot of players. They probably get to a certain stage and you think, you can't get any more nervous, just go and play.
Yeah.
And people deal with it differently and whatever, and they'll speak to people or psychologists or whatever. But I think you do get to a stage where you think, what's the worst that can happen? It's a game of football.
And that crowd never comes into your mind, I think it would be, for me, it would be like the fear of just, like you just said, just fucking up or in front of that many people. That would be, there's not many other jobs where you fuck up in front of 80,000 people.
Especially now, it's on video, it's on camera, millions have seen it now as well.
Yeah. No, I always found playing in front of big crowds, you put the Youth Cup, the England champions, when we won the Champions Cup, the Euro Championships, we played at Forest, and they thought they'd be about. We played the 3 games before. We beat France at Stoke in front of 3,000 or 4,000. We beat Holland at Walsall in front of 6,000 or 7,000, and then we beat Spain on the Thursday in front of full house. And they probably think it might be 9,000 or 10,000 at Forest. So we goes out to warm up, and they'd opened one stand at Forest, the far stand. Anyway, that was full, and we're playing Turkey. So there's a lot of Turkish residents around, and in the East Midlands area and that. And then they said that the kickoff's going to get put back. So they put the kickoff back. I've had an injection in my toe because I'd smashed the bottom of my toe against someone's boot in the game before. I thought I broke my toe. The only way I could play was just so I had to have an injection before I went out to warm up. And it was horrible. I don't know if you've had it. I mean, you've had worse with injuries than me, but to have your toe injected, there's not a lot of thing to put it in that. It's painful. And so it goes out to warm up. Goes out to warm up. And they put the kickoff back 45 minutes. An anaesthetic in my toe starting to wear off. I'm like, oh, shit. It's live on Sky. It's 28,000. It was packed.
Wow.
It was completely packed. City ground. But it was. I always found it so much easier playing in front of a big crowd like that than 3,000 or 4,000 rattling around in an empty stadium. Far better. Far easier.
I wonder why. Strange, though, isn't it? Yeah, just
I think it just
more of an atmosphere, so it gives you that more of a boost when.
And to be fair, against Wimbledon, the first 2 minutes, I made a really good tackle, got myself into the game, and the fact the crowd all went up, and cheered, and that's what you're in it for at the end of the day.
Mega patriotic, was you, Chris, about playing for England? Was that always a big thing for you, a big ambition playing for England?
Yeah, I captained. We played the first game of the 92-93 lead up to that. It was back in October time, and played in France, got beat. But then the following game against Switzerland at Port Vale, the manager came up to me before the game. Might have been the day before the game. He said, "Make sure your mum and dad come to the game." I said, "Yeah, they're coming." Yeah. He said, "Make sure they're there for the national anthems, because you're leading the team out." And it was like,
that's incredible, isn't it?
And I captained him for 3 or 4 games. And then for the championships, Darren Caskey, with our age, but he'd been playing with the 19s. In fact, he was captain of the 19s because he was in the Tottenham team full time, the first team. He came down and was the captain. I was the vice captain. But really, really proud to play for your country.
Some achievement, that, especially captain.
And the team we had, was some team. We got Chris Day in goal, who had a good career. We got Gary right back, Sol Campbell, myself, Kevin Sharp from Leeds, Nicky, Scholesy, Darren Caskey, Robbie Fowler, Julian Georgian, Kevin Gallen. Some team like.
In fact, I heard because Robbie Fowler's done his own podcast. He had Paul Scholes on. He was talking about that championships. That's one you won. He was talking about. That was obviously the same one. Yeah, because he was talking about naming the. He was just talking about the whole championship you're referring to. Then,
yeah. You
think about that. What a team you all had, like names there. It's mad, isn't it?
Do you know something? The really sad thing about it was we won the game on the Sunday, and like I say, we had some team who beat France easily and Spain and whatever. And we never played together again after that. We never played together. Some played, obviously, in older age groups, but as a group, we didn't go into the 90s. There wasn't an under-19s for whatever reason, and we never played again together, which I think was, because we had a lot of success and obviously play well together, but to never do that again was sad, really.
How does it work then for getting picked for England? Is it who ultimately does it? I suppose, is it the manager of England? He just decides, he sees the pool of players, and it's as simple as that.
So you'll have for every age group you've got a head coach. So ours was a guy called Ted Powell, who sadly is no longer with us, and but he'll have a group of scouts as well. He'll go around, and they might even speak to the club and say, "Listen, is there anybody realistically you think we should come and watch?" And obviously with what we'd done in the first year, we'd got the England scouts there quite regular, and the 4 of us. Beck's never got in it for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why he never got in the team, but at the end we'd got I think half the group was made up of us and Leeds. Leeds had a great youth team. They beat us in the Youth Cup final in '93. They got Mark Tinkler, not household names that you'd think of these, you know, Rob Bowman, Kevin Sharp, Jamie Forrester, Mark Ford. They were playing regular in their first team at that time, and it made a massive difference. What we were saying before about playing against kids your older age.
Yeah,
you know, they were playing in men's football. They were playing in the Premier League, and they were too good for us over the course of the 2 legs.
With the United setup and the England setup, who's the best player you played with?
For my age, Scholesy.
Scholesy.
Yes.
Everyone says that about him, don't they? Just
even now, we play 5-a-sides for charity games and things like that, and we play the hotel football, you know, just outside. Yeah. So there's a 5-a-side pitch on there. So for like a charity dinner, one of the auction prizes is to play against the class of '92. So obviously 2 Nevs, Giggsy, Scholesy, Butty. And they always need another one, so they drag me in it. It's a privilege to play, really.
Yeah.
And
it's not a bad 5-a-side setup, that like.
In that, honestly, we've never. Proud ourselves on never been beaten. But if we are close to getting beaten, I mean, the intensity goes.
Really, yeah. Start turning it on.
Yeah, they just don't like getting beat, those lads. And
that's brilliant.
Giggs is the same. He's still a really fit lad. You know, does a lot of.
It's mad you said before about you said Paul Scholes had asthma as well.
Yeah.
Because he was never known, was he, for a great engine running up and down. It's not what you think of him, but to think that the career he had, it's incredible, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I say, the first year he had problems with his knees. I think they call it osgood sclaterus, you know, something like that. And he very rarely trained, didn't do an awful lot. But you know, what a player and that. And he got his vision was ridiculous. And you look at the top players, the Iniestas and the Zidanes and whatever, who's the best player they've ever played against? And invariably it's Scholesy.
Incredible.
It tells you a lot, you know.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you'll come on to later on now, you set up what you're doing with yourself now, but when you're going through that team, the reason I asked this question was because I think Liverpool fans like to think that Gerrard and Carragher are best mates. You know, the 2 Scousers in the team, they're best mates, they go out everywhere together, the best mates on and off the pitch. Were you kind of all as close as maybe the fans would like to think you were?
Yeah, we were. Me and Gary were really good mates. Good mates. We played in the same position. 2 centre halves. We played centre half in the youth cup. Didn't live far from each other. Played golf most days with each other when we could do and things like that. So, but as a group, we'd go out, you know, regular together and. You know, we were close, yeah. We were.
It's important, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just have it obviously on the pitch and off the pitch as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's rare or if it happened, you know, if it's as close knit as people seem to, you know.
That's what I mean. I just always think, you know, you think, the 2 Scouts in Liverpool's team, you just had these visions of, they're all best mates. And
are they best mates?
I don't know, but it's just like, I think as a fan, you kind of want them to be like, it's just interesting to see that.
Always round at their house.
I don't know why, you just, yeah. But,
I've got your Wikipedia up, Chris, and we can. There's a few things that we can mention, but so you left United in 1998, then?
Yeah.
Obviously, that was the reason why, you got injured, was it, or?
No, it was later on.
Was it later in 2000? Sorry,
on 2 years later. That, mate, the leaving United. What was that like coming through? So obviously Alex Ferguson has put that trust into you and stuff, and you'd had the contract and things like that, and you've been around, like you say, the Nevilles, the Butts, the Scholes and all that. What was that like when you could maybe feel the end of your United career coming, or did it come like that,
Yeah, I mean, the lads had broke in. I actually was one of the first to break in this 94 season. Played at Rangers in a pre-season friendly and played at Wolves. And we got badly beaten at Rangers, and it was the day that Eric got sent off. I don't know if you've seen it.
The flying kick one?
No, that was at Palace.
All right.
But Eric 2-foots this lad called Stephen Presley, and it's a shocking tackle. I mean, it's, you know, he was lucky to get away with it. He looked to get away with it without serious injuries, Presley. And the gaffer used to be at Rangers as a player. And he got left out of a cup final, I think, and it didn't go down particularly well, as you could imagine. So whenever we were, you know, if you played Rangers and whatever, the intensity was because it seems to be United and Celtic, Rangers and Liverpool, I think, or some kind, Anyway, even though it was a pre-season friendly, Ibrox is bouncing. So he 2-foots this lad, gets a straight red. So it's not one of these pre-season. It's a tournament, pre-season tournament. We've got Fiorentina, Newcastle, Rangers, and us. So we didn't play particularly well, and they give us a bit of a doing. And they beat us 2-0. I can see the gaffer's. He's going. You can see his steam's coming out of his ears on the side.
Even for like a pre-season tournament,
yeah. So he comes in, and I'm thinking. To be fair, Cantona had let us down. I was only a young kid, but I wanted to do well in the game. It's my big chance, like. So he's coming, and he's gone, and you, gone past the ball, and you've not done that, and you've not done this. So I'm thinking, God, he could be, and he never gave it to Eric at all. When he was at United, because he'd done such a good job for him. But I'm thinking, he's got to give him it here, and he's gone, and Cantona sat there like that, and he's gone, and Eric. You're a silly lad, you are at times. And that was it. And I'm like, is that it? So I'm thinking, you're a silly lad, you are at times, Eric. And that was it.
Really?
Yeah. The door opened and Sean Connery walked in. It's madness.
Sean Connery?
Sean Connery walked in, yeah.
Was he there just as a fan?
Yeah. He must know the manager in that.
Fucking hell.
Is that it? Surreal.
Was he just like the golden boy, was he? Yeah. Cantona?
Yeah. Well, he came at a time when we were struggling, really. We'd lost the league to Leeds, and he'd won the league for Leeds, really, with his goals. And we started the following season. We got beat off Sheffield United in the first ever game in the Premier League. We then got beat at home 3-0 off Everton in front of about 30,000 fans. And we were really struggling. And I remember Dion Dublin had been brought in the summer. Was the main striker, the big striker to work with, to go with Sparky and that, and he got his leg badly broke against Palace at Old Trafford early in the season, and obviously we needed a striker. And I think the story is, and don't quote me on this, but I think Howard Wilkinson phoned the gaffer about Dennis Irwin, and we'd played Leeds a couple of weeks before, and Pallister and Bruce after the game said, "I tell you what, Cantona, what a player. He's such a good player, really difficult, big, strong movement," and the manager had never had remembered it. So he said, "No, he's not available. Dennis is not available." He went, "What about the boy, Cantona?" And I think it just went from there, really. And Howard Wilkinson let him go for just over £1 million.
Yeah,
and it was like the catalyst, really, for us. And he took on board I think the pressure that the club were under, the manager was under. Pressure. It brought one or two, really good players in. Peter Schmeichel had come in, and Neil Webb and Paul Parker, and Paul Ince and people like that. But like I say, that season we were stuttering, and then Eric came in, and it was just. So he'd always remembered that, and he was performing so well year upon year. And so if there was any kind of misdemeanors, he always got away with it a little bit. But he was a top player and a top pro. He never took advantage of it. He probably could have turned up a bit, but he was there early. He was there late. After training, he'd train harder than anybody. He'd practice longer than anybody. He'd always help the young lads, like I said before the Wimbledon game. So yeah,
that's good, isn't it? Because I think it'd dishearten me a little bit if you thought he turned up and he thought he didn't need to have a go and that. I'd feel a bit, but the fact that you're saying he was,
it was top draw. Yeah, great professional. Yeah.
What so that relationship? What was your relationship like with Ferguson then? Before obviously the kind of decision come to let you go.
Yeah, no, my dad. When he left Burnley, and I was only a couple of months into my first year at United as an apprentice. He knew that obviously the connection with the club and how it would affect me, and that, and it was a tough time. And he just got me in the office, and the day after, and said, "How are you feeling?" It was like, "I'm only 16, and this is the manager of Manchester United. He's got a lot of other things on his mind." And he took the time to ask me how I was, and said, "Listen, if you need anything, if your dad needs anything, just give us a shout." Because he knew my dad obviously through the game as well. So I never forgot that. That's the one thing. He's so loyal, and you never hear him badmouthing any of his players and that. And I think there's a bit of a spat between him and Roy.
Yeah.
for whatever reason. But you know, when he was the manager there, flipping top draw with stuff like that.
He's got that aura about him. I was lucky enough. I got to spin watch the Grand National once. I was in the same box as him, and I fucking shit myself. I don't get like nervous, but I fucking shit myself just being around him. And he just like he said like hello to me, and I was just like, I don't know where to look. He's got this presence, hasn't he? He's unbelievable. Like I think just such a leader from the outside, and just
everything you think about leadership, you know, the values and the standards, you know, you call them that's what you'd expect at United, but it was driven by him. It was, you know, your standards, your work ethic, and your behaviour and the way you treated people, and that it all came from him. And he was tough, you know. And some, you know, he would have I didn't see an awful lot of this hairdryer, I've got to be honest, but you knew it was there, and once or twice it came out. And but yeah, he got that aura and that presence about him, and I had no problem with him whatsoever throughout my career. And I think, you know, he mentioned once I'd left on a video that they'd done about my professionalism, which I really appreciated. And but it just got to the stage where the lads had broke into the first. I got injured at the start of the '94 season. Badly did my ankle ligaments, and you know, the lads had gone in, had done well. Ronnie Johnson had come in, David May, Henning Berg came in the year after. So I was always part of the squad, but without actually getting regular games. And I was getting to the stage where, I went out on loan when I was 20 to Bournemouth, played about 13, 14 games for Bournemouth, and enjoyed it, you know, playing.
I'll find your own way.
16 games.
16.
Scored on my league debut at Peterborough. We won 5-4. We were 3-1 down with about 10 minutes to go.
Jesus.
Scored. Make it 3-2. They made it 4-2, and then we just scored 3 goals in like space of 5 minutes and won the game 5-4.
And great, obviously Bournemouth's not round the corner from Manchester United, so you literally just shift. Obviously, you how old are you at this point then?
I'm 20.
Which is young to move to the very bottom of the country, isn't it?
Yeah, it was just a 3 months loan. I knew someone there, a lad who I played with at United called Mark Rawlinson, so. And they had a good set of lads there. Matty Holland was there, Stevie Robinson, and they had a good young team. Mel Machin put a good young team together there, and getting that experience. And I came back and went straight back into the Champions League squad. I think I might have been on the bench actually at Monaco. I think the quarterfinals, and so it was great, but I'd got that thirst for first team football, and I played so many. You know, I was playing my first reserve team game against Bradford, I think, when I was 16 at Old Trafford, and played for 4 years. And it's like, you know, I craved to play first team football.
Yeah.
So I went on loan to Swindon the following year. We were top of the Championship, and they wanted to buy me, but the two clubs couldn't agree a transfer fee. And then the following year went on loan to Reading. And then did well, and then signed for 3.5 years. I think they paid about 300 grand for me, I think.
Mate, you know, it's one thing I'm always fascinated at, saying anyone who's had a story where this question's applicable to, what I find it interesting. What is your ego like when you're not getting into maybe you're not making the breakthrough you thought you would have, and now Reading come calling? Is it a little bit of you that's like, well, I'm Chris Casper, I've just fucking won the, you know, I'm part of the class of 92 Youth Cup win, I've played for England, we've won this, you know, I'm playing for United, I'm not fucking playing for Reading. Yeah. Is there any of that to you?
No, I was just thankful to be playing. The reason I went to Reading, I suppose there was a little bit of that, but they just moved into the Majeski Stadium, so, you know, when the manager, Tommy Burns, who was a top guy as well, great player for Celtic, great manager for Celtic, you know, and he's got Packy Bonner with him as his assistant, and, you know, he played for Republic of Ireland for years and years. Steve Keane was there, so they meet you, and the first thing they do is they take you into the ground and that, and it's like,
I've been here.
25,000 brand new seated stadium. This is where the club's going. They're owned by John Majeski, blah blah blah. These are the plans. These are the training ground plans. These are the players that we're looking to bring in, blah blah. And you're like, right, okay, just need to get out of League One really, because I really enjoy playing in League One, I've got to be honest, but it was that opportunity that I needed. I was 23 at the time, and I had to get a career, but I played probably too many reserve team games. But I told the manager from when I was 19, 20 years old that, look, I need to get out on loan at least, I need to go and play, I need to get a career for myself, and so that's why that happened. But you need to be playing regular by the time you're 20, 21.
Mm. And is that, Chris, at Reading, what happened with the injury then?
Yeah, so I signed in October 98, and then I did okay up to about Christmas time, and then my form dipped off. I won't say the dressing room was great either. It was one of those, the training ground wasn't great. I'm not a training ground snob or anything like that, and I don't know, for whatever reason, it was just the season just fizzled out really, and I got married in the summer and came back and wasn't in the team, and really had to work hard to get in the team because they signed some good players, Nicky Forster and Martin Butler and people like that. And I got back in the team and was doing well, playing really well, and playing at Cardiff Boxing Day '99. I was playing right back, I think, at the time, and I'd gone forward. I was playing against a lad called Josh Lowe, who was a good player at the lower leagues. He played for Cardiff in the Championship and that, and he was quick and it was a good battle. After 20 minutes I was thinking, because I'm feeling fit, I'm feeling confident, I'm thinking, I'm going to run you the other way. So I ran him the other way, put the ball in the box, and they've headed it behind for a corner. So I'm back on the halfway line. There's two of us defending against one on the halfway line. So balls get played up in the box and the header goes up in the air, and I'm thinking, I'm starting to nudge forward, walk forward, anticipate the ball getting cleared and coming onto the ball and that. And so I'm anticipating it, and then the lad Richard Carpenter takes a touch, and then he knocks it through our lad's legs. It might have been Andy Gurney at the time, and the ball's rolling onto me, and I'm thinking, and he starts running after this ball, and I'm thinking, I've got to make a tackle, because if I don't, the 2v1 against, if I lose this tackle, so I'm just going to put my body on the line, I'm just going to slide, I'm going to you really kind of emphasise, I'm going to show you that, I'm going to tackle. I'm not just going to jump into a tackle and just hope for the best. I'm going into a tackle knowing that I can't lose this tackle. I'm going to block you. If you want to block me, feel free. Try and tackle me. But I know that I've got a challenge for that ball. So I start sliding for it, and he starts leaning back, and I'm thinking, I can't believe it. And I just couldn't get out of the way. And he just took off, bent his legs, and just two-footed me over the ball and snapped my leg in half. As I went one way, the bottom half of my leg went the other way, and I just knew right at the start that I'd done it.
The way you described that then, did it slow down like that when you think about it? I can
visualise it, yeah.
Fucking hell.
I don't...
They say, sorry Tom, they say as well, don't they, in footy, like, you've got to go in, otherwise you'll get hurt, and it sounds like you've went in there, you've went in full-blooded as well, but then still ended up... I don't know about your, when you were... after your injuries and that, I felt guilty for a long time after that. I'd actually been a bit naive in doing what I've done, and probably should have been a little bit cuter. But at the time, you just got to make a decision. If I'd have lost that tackle and had gone down and scored, it would have been, you'd have felt bad. But actually, in hindsight, it's one goal.
Yeah,
look at your career. You should never, you've got to put things into context. Yeah. But at the time, you're thinking, no, I've got to make this tackle. And like I say, for a long time after, I felt guilty. Why did I do? Why? We kicked off on 1:00 on a Sunday. You never did that in those days. All these things that you put together. Why did I do that? Why did I cross the ball? Why did I not try and play my way into the?
Just a little tiny change. Yeah.
But that's ultimately that was always going to happen to me when I was 24. However it was going to happen. I believe in
Fate,
yeah, that's what's going to happen. You've got to deal with it. But it took me a long time to get to where to get comfortable with it.
Was there a photo? I think I just saw it before. Was there a photo of you with gas and air on the pitch? Or
yeah.
I presume that was there.
Yeah.
So that's.
Yeah.
Is that tough for you now to? Obviously, I know you said you just done a presentation on it and stuff, mate. Is it tough to think back to it and stuff? Do you still now all these years later, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's a lot easier, don't get me wrong, to talk, and sometimes talking about it helps, but you know, you look back on that and that's your last game you ever play when you're 24, and everything you've ever worked for and dreamed about, it's just been taken away like that. And do you know what? I knew there that I was done.
Really?
Yeah. Even though I'd brought my tibia, my fibula didn't heal. My ankle was badly damaged, and my knee was damaged in the same tackle.
Fucking hell.
And but I knew psychologically, I knew I was in trouble then, because I'd seen it happen to a couple of lads before. I'd seen it happen to Ben. Ben was a horror tackle. A lad at United called Graham Tomlinson. He got a bad one. It was might have been a year before that, but his bone had come through the skin, and he got infection, and it was a mess. So I'm coming off there, and I'm saying to the physio, how bad is it? I said, as soon as the guy Phil Parkinson runs up to me, he says, "You alright? I said, "Parky broke my leg." I know I broke my leg because I could feel it, and I saw it and heard it and all the rest of it. I said to the physio, I said, "How bad is it?" He said, "It's compound. It's come through. It's blood everywhere."
Oof.
Fortunately, it hadn't. The impact had cut my skin. His boot had stood, had cut my skin, but the bone had stayed inside my skin. Fortunately, because like I say, what happened to Graham was, and he got infected. He was in a really bad state, and I knew then. Like I said, my wife came down. So like I say, I'm in Cardiff, so we're in Manchester, She was living in Bolton at the time. Drives down. We'd moved down, but my parents came down, and my wife got there to the hospital, and the first thing I said was, "I'm sorry." I apologised, like, "I'm sorry," because I knew what was coming. I knew all the grief and everything that was coming. And
you know what's really weird? I said sorry to my dad. You know, when he walked over to me.
Did you?
How weird's that? I did. I remember crying my eyes out, saying sorry to my dad.
Yeah.
He said, "What are you saying sorry for?" And I just said, "I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
Crying my eyes out, hugging him, and we weird.
Yeah.
What did your dad think, Chris? What was your dad?
Well, my dad. So I remember you getting all these painkillers shoved in you and morphine and all that.
As high as a kite, yeah.
I'm lying there, and all these things are happening, and you're in and out of conscious, sleeping and whatever. And I remember seeing some kind of a commotion in the corner of the ward. I was on an open ward. I remember just, not even have the energy to look up. I just remember something happening. So I come down, so I get some sleep. My mum and dad are there. So my dad goes, "What do you remember of the tackle?" And I said, "I seem to think it was a bit naughty," but he said, "Apparently they've said it was a horrendous tackle. And the lad that did it has come to see you before. Come see me in hospital." And my dad saw him, and he went, "What do you want?" He said, "I've come to see Chris." He said, "You better get out now." He said, "What you've done?" He went, "I didn't mean I didn't." He said, my dad wasn't at the game, you see.
Mm.
He said, "You better get out now." And he said, "He's not seen you." He said, "You better get out." And never saw him again. Never heard from him or anything.
To this day as well.
Yeah. And football's a small industry.
Wow.
But sometimes you go to a coaching event or a game, and you bump into people that you've not seen for. No, I've never seen him.
Is he still in the game? Is he?
I genuinely don't know. No, I don't know.
What have your feelings changed towards him now, or have you still got this, anger or bitterness or what?
No, I moved on. Like I said, I had to, because otherwise it would have eaten me alive, and I just had to move on. It's like it happens. Football's a competitive sport. I know he regrets it, or he says he regretted it. Through interviews that he did and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a competitive sport, and you've got to move on and accept those kind of things, and that's what you do. It was a what's the word I'm looking for? It was a. I think what the word is, what the word that they used. It was just a bad tackle, basically. It was no need for it. It was a coward's tackle, really. There's only one person going to get hurt, and that was me.
Is there any repercussions for him as such, other than like? I don't know.
Sending off other
than that at all, or has it changed at all since that happened, or to today, or?
No, I
No.
don't think so. I
No.
mean, he said he struggled with it, and the word I'm looking for, it was really reckless.
Mm.
That was the word that was used. It was reckless.
The thing is, you can't. Yeah, it's
He
difficult,
actually
isn't
got
it?
booked for it.
He didn't get sent off.
No, he got booked for it.
Fucking
And-
hell.
You know, it went to court and everything, and the referee's report. Obviously, the solicitor spoke to the referee and showed him the video again, and I think someone gets in the eye line of the referee as the tackle's happening, and he goes, he said, if I'd have seen it now, then I was seeing it now, he said it'd been straight red, definitely. He said, but I didn't see enough of it, so I knew it was a reckless tackle, so that's why I yellow carded him.
What was your support like? You know, when you start coming round, obviously family are there, but I mean, with fellow professionals and stuff like that. I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, my team were good. You know, my teammates all came round and spoke to us, and but that soon fades away. They've got their own issues to think about and their own careers and that, and it can be a lonely life, you know, in the physio room and coming back from in trying to get to fitness and things like that. And the club weren't really set up for anything like that. Physio is, you know, I ended up coming to see another physio, a guy called Dave Fever, who was a United physio, who was at Blackburn at the time, just as a change of scenery really as well, because you're just waiting for your bones to heal. And I was living near Bath University, about 15 minutes from Bath, and so I used to go in, instead of driving all the way in there, I used to go and use their gym, and that's kind of how I met Jed Roddy, who was the head of the Premier League. But before that, he was the head of sport at Bath, and got talking to Jed, and when I finished playing, he offered me a coaching job straight away there, which was great.
It takes a lot, that's why I asked to support me, but like I go around doing these talks on bloody resilience and mental toughness, mate, but going through that and making the success you have in the same sport, I think it's hugely powerful. It says a lot about your resilience and your character, the fact that you've come back from that, and not only, you know, you've stayed in that career, or yet not as a player, but you've stayed around it. That takes huge resilience, that.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine some people would want to go, right, you know what, I can't do that. I can't be around that no more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I had nearly 2 years. I'd been out for nearly 2 years, and it got to a stage where you felt like your self-esteem was through the floor. And basically what happened was, your main bone, your shin bone, my tibia, healed really well. My fibula, which is a smaller bone, they call it a non-weight bearing bone. Walking down the street, it is.
It's so similar to my injury. I can't wait to hear what your explanation is of this, because it's the same. You know what? It's getting blown up and getting completely different, but what you're describing is exactly what happened to my leg.
And but when you're a footballer and you've still got a gap, so basically I came back, I was playing with a broken leg really, and it's, you know, what the surgeons don't understand, if you're treating, you know, normal civilians, that you can walk down the street with a gap in your leg, it probably eventually might heal, I don't know, but when you're twisting and turning and getting a whack against it, and the ball blocking a ball, and the pain's like breaking your leg every single time, it's horrendous. And I had these special pads made for me and all the rest of it, and I got to the stage where I actually played for 4 or 5 months like this. And I was thinking, I'm just not doing myself any favours, any justice. And I went to see the specialist, and I said, you know, he re-x-rayed it, and he said, there's still a gap in your leg. And I said, well, what's it going to take to, you know, we're going to fix it? He said, it's 10 months and bone graft. So I've been out for 2 years. That would have been another year, so I'd have been out for 3 years. So I went in, and we had a game on the Saturday. We was playing on the training ground on the Friday. I'll never forget it. I was really low in confidence, and I was just kicking a ball about before training, and I've gone to strike this ball, and there was no conviction with it, and I seen a couple of the younger lads just watching, and like, they didn't say anything, they didn't laugh, I just thought they looked at me as though saying, what do you think you're doing? You know, I just felt like so low really, and I just walked, you know, the lads who I was playing with, like, you know, if you miss it a pass or something like that, you know, I just walked off. They went, Casp, where are you going? I went, I can't do it anymore. And I just went and saw Alan Pardew, who was manager at the time. I said, Gaffer, can I see you? He went, yeah, we've got a game. So I said, Gaffer, I need to see you. And like started filling up with you. I said, Gaffer, I can't do it anymore. And he looked at me, he could see me. My eyes would. He said, I can tell. He said, get yourself home. We've got the game. Catch up over the week. Catch up on Monday about it. And I'd never, had that intention to retire and say, right, I'm going to give it 2 or 3 months or whatever. I was probably kidding myself that I could get back to a certain level. One, I was still injured, and two, mentally I was still all over the place. Every tackle that I was seeing was like, so as a defender, that's not great.
No.
And then to do that, it was that. It was just that split second. That was it. I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And like I say, I went home, told my wife, and she, it's probably selfish really that we'd not sat down and spoke about it and discussed it. I just said, I can't do it anymore. And obviously typical of her, she went, yeah, no problems, we'll get through it as we've done before, and all the rest of it over the last 2 years. So
it's difficult, that, yeah.
I just went,
fucking hell, man.
I phoned Jed up at Bath, because he, like I say, we'd been having conversations. He said, look, if you want to come and do some coaching and things, and literally probably spent 48 hours having a few drinks probably and chilling out and feeling sorry for me. Then phoned Jed. I said, listen, that offer of doing some coaching, can I still do it? He went, yeah, coming in. So literally a week later I was working and working at Bath University coaching. And I just couldn't, I knew that if I'd have stopped, I'd have,
be broken, as in, yeah. Your head goes,
I had to do something straight away. Some managers, they get sacked, and when I got sacked at Bury, it was like, you can take a bit of time off and whatever. I took a day off, and I was like, I can't, I don't want to do this. I want to work. I've got to have something to get up for in life in the morning. Yeah. You've got to have a purpose.
Massively, yeah.
So, what was you were saying about yours and?
No, mate. Yeah, it's just the exact same injury. When the bomb went through my leg, it took away 6 centimetres, my fibula and tibia, and they put a big cage on my leg, and it was to grow back the 6 centimetres of bone. But they were only growing back the bone of is it the fib? Did you say that's the main one?
No, the tibia.
The tib.
Yeah.
So they were growing back this 6 centimetres of bone of the tibia, which was great. But then I kept on saying there's a 6 centimetre gap in the other one, and they kept on going, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a fucking gap on the x-ray is 6 centimetres, and you're telling me not to worry about it? And he said, no, it's non-weight bearing, you don't need it. Like, you must need that.
There's a reason it's there.
What's it there for? Yeah.
So I managed to grow back the 6 centimetres of bone. It took 18 months. They were talking about a bone graft, but in the end I didn't need it. They just broke the bone and then pulled it apart in another place so that it would regrow. And it worked, to be fair, but my problem was with nerve damage and other things like that. But just the injury with regards to the bone was exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, they actually, when they did the operation, the bone graft, they actually took the bone from the shin that got broke and fused it on. So they ended up with a big plate in there. I say the tibia was great; it just healed brilliantly. But this other one, and like I say, the ankle was bad. So they shoved a big rod straight down my shin. I think they call it an internal fixatory nail. So I was never in a cast. And then they lock it in your knee and then your ankle. And I was starting to jog, so it should have been back running. So I was starting to jog, I get a real load of pain in my ankle. They said, well, you're going to get that. I said, this is not right. I know what pain's like, And so eventually they looked at the x-ray and they said, well, your nail might be too far down in your ankle. So they said, he's gone, listen, this should stay in for a year at least.
Yeah.
But we're 9 months in now. Do you want to have it taken out? I said, is there going to be a risk to it? He said, there's slight risk, but you should be okay. Your tibia looks really well healed. So they took the nail out, and I was still getting pain with it. So I went for an MRI scan, and the ligament holding my ankle and my fibula had just exploded with the impact. If you held a stick and you whacked it in the middle, you get a big force going through your hands.
Yeah.
And that's what had happened. The ligament had just exploded as well. And I had knee ligament damage. It wasn't as bad. That had healed that by the time I'd got to 9 months. I think it was my posterior cruciate, which wasn't
You're lucky that you're still walking around now, aren't you? All right.
Yeah. Every night you get like, especially when it gets damp, it gets achy. You know,
cold weather or
yeah, it gets achy. Like
mate, the resilience and toughness you got to come back from that, mate. Fucking fair play.
And did you as soon as you went, obviously you're at Bath University and you coach, and then you got a new sense of this is where I want to take this career now that obviously that's happened.
I moved on, like I say, professionally really quickly. Personally, I was hiding a lot of demons and struggling, but professionally I moved on quickly because I knew I had to. I knew that I wanted to work. Like I say, if I'm been 14 really, I'd always had a career plan and that. So I got my coaching badges done really quickly. Qualified up to level 4A licence by the time I was 30, and stayed down in the area for about 18 months. But I'm from the northwest and I needed to get back up north. My wife's from the northwest as well, and my daughter was born in 2001, and you miss your family and your friends, and it's a fair old trek down there. So we won the Screwfix Prem or whatever with Bath University. We got through the first round of the FA Cup. First university team in 125 years to get through to the FA Cup first round. We won more games. I think it was either Chelsea or Arsenal won the cup. We won more games to get to the first round than they did to actually win the cup. Because we were in the prelim games. We started the FA Cup in middle of July. Honestly, and we just kept. It was like the first game was like anything could happen. We don't, big story about university team been in the FA Cup or whatever. Blah blah blah. Won that game. Won the next game. Easy at Newport. And all of a sudden you're on a roll, and then you start thinking. We're getting so the final game, the fourth qualifying rounds against, I think it was a team called Hitchin, I think, down there at their place away, and it was a really warm day. Pitch was rock hard, and the coach breaks down on the way there. So we're all on the side of the motorway on the hard shoulder. So Jed's on the phone trying to organise all these taxis to come and take us to the game. Anyway, they get the coach going and we get to the game. It was the worst game ever. We drew 0-0. It was packed. And then we play at back at the university. And there's just fans all the way around the pitch, all the students and all the rest of it. And then we beat them on penalties.
Did you?
Yeah.
Who did you get in the first round?
We got Mansfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after the game, Jed's one of these he's a visionary. Nothing's impossible to Jed. So we're like absolutely buzzing. So right, where are we going to play? The university's definitely not big enough to hold. We've only got one small shitty stand that holds about 200 people. He says, so Twerton Park's not far around the corner, Bristol Rovers or Bristol City Ashton, whatever. He went, we're playing here. He was like, Jed, how can we play here? He went, I'm telling you now, we will play that game here because the draw had already been made. We knew he was going to play. Two weeks later on the Sunday, we'd got the golf, the stands.
Yeah. That they set up with all the scaffolding.
Scaffolding stands. 4 of them all the way around. 5,000 there, the top of this hill in Bath.
Wow.
I was like, how did Sky was live on Sky, and
brilliant that.
The university must have paid for it then, mustn't they? The scaffold.
Yeah, absolutely. But we got sponsored. The coach Paul Tisdale, who's gone on to be a good manager. Paul was best mates with a guy called what's he called now? Ray. I'm trying to think of his second name, but he was Ted Baker. This guy.
The clothing.
Yeah. And they sponsored us.
Oh wow.
They sponsored us. Yeah, it was clothing and all sorts.
Tweed suits and
we were all over the press and all the rest of it. So we're training on the Thursday at the university, and this car pulls up behind the goal. I'm thinking it's a bit odd. This these two girls get out, and these 2 camera guys get out. So we're training. All of a sudden, the girls run on the pitch, take the t-shirts off. They're from the Daily Sport. As you can imagine, all the lads are absolutely buzzing with it. And,
so during the actual game, the proper...
No, in the training session.
Oh, in the training.
Yeah, in the training session. I'm like, right, get off, lads. Go. No, give us 5 more minutes. Get in off as well. Get there. Yeah, but yeah, good times. Them really good times. The lads appeared on what was it? There's a sports quiz. I think he was on. Gary Lineker was on it, and
the question of sports or something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a question of sport. It was something else, and all day down in the studios, and all this kind of business. Lads loved it. Yeah, it was great.
When you said before, mate, you moved on professionally. Did you find it was later on that you kind of weren't quite over it? What had happened personally?
Yeah, when you look back, like I say, the regret, the anger, probably drink a bit too much than you wouldn't do as an athlete, and then you start slipping into doing things that not so much you weren't proud of, because I never did anything like that, but you look back and you needed to get to a stage. I got to a stage in my life, I said, right, I need to focus again on getting a career going again, and I moved on quickly professionally like that, but personally, you've got to back you've got to back your professional life up with your personal life.
Yeah, 100%.
And I got to that stage where it's right, you need to sort yourself out, and I spoke to psychologists and things like that, and they helped to a certain degree. But like I say, it's got to come from yourself, really. At the end of the day, what about yourself? What was?
Yeah, no, mate. Yeah, same. Yeah, just struggled. Just not kind of finding a purpose or a worth and a routine and stuff, and I was drinking too much and gambling too much, and just turning into a person I didn't like, and just didn't feel like I was doing anything. And professionally, I'd started doing the speaking, but it was a farce, because I was doing this speaking, trying to come across as a motivational, inspirational person. Yeah, personally, my heart wasn't in it. My life was going to shit, and it was all. It took a kind of moment where I thought, "Fucking all right, I need to start."
Was there one moment that you actually came to that?
I don't think there was one moment, but a series of moments where I kind of just, I think got the dog. That was a big one for me. Don't know if you can hear him snoring on the couch behind us. He was a big one for me, because whether I got up, I'd kind of got pensioned off, which was, wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough money where I didn't have to, get another full-time job, but I couldn't, go and live on the beach for the rest of my life, and so. And whether I got up at 6 in the morning and ran a marathon, or I sat in bed bloody wanking myself silly till 4 in the afternoon, nothing actually changed in my life. Yeah. And why I was probably grateful for that of a little bit, for a week or two, it very quickly become, I'm a young guy still, I can't fucking live like this. And that's when, like say, drinking too much and stuff and all that. So I got a dog, and then it's responsibility, it's a routine, and then before you know it, you're up at a reasonable hour, you're walking the dog, you're getting fit, you're getting healthy, physical health's improving, mental health's improving, you start getting a bit more organised, and slowly but surely I got myself out of it. But yeah, I can relate a lot, mate, to what you said. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
So when you moved back up to the Northwest, a few coaching jobs and various bits before you end up working for the Premier League?
Yeah, I was fortunate when I moved up. Again, I was. It was the end of the season, and I was starting to struggle again, because I had no job. I'd come up after the season at Bath had finished, moved up right at the end of May, with the intent of trying to find a coaching job, but obviously everything is shut down by then. So I spent for 3 or 4 weeks, which was dangerous for me, because it gave me time to think, and time to reflect, and time to regret, and time to go back, and all these horrible moments. And my wife just said, right, I'm going to find you a job. No matter what it is, we're going to get you a job. Because I'd been looking, but, like I said, I knew it was going to be tough in June, really. But I said, right, so it gets the local paper out. And I've known a guy called Brent Peters for years, and Brent's the owner, really, the chairman of a club called Beckham Borough, which is not far from me. It's about 10-15 minutes away. And they've advertised for a reserve team manager. Now, Beckham Borough are in North West Counties League One. And she went, right, go and speak to Brent. You'll know Brent, give him a shout. She went, I don't care. She went, go and do it. Go and do it. So I went and spoke to Brent, and he went, what are you coming for, this job? He said, you do know what it is, don't you? Reserve team manager of Baker. I said, yeah, I want to do it. And, you know, she convinced me, you need to get. I said, yeah. He went, right, okay. So basically, he went, look, after, you know, speaking to him and that, I'd known Brent since he was the DJ at Bury when my dad was there back in
DJ?
You know, your tannoy system.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I've known Brent for years and years, and what a great guy. You need to get him on here, by the way, because he will not stop talking. He's got some great stories and that. And basically accepted. He said, but I want you to be my assistant. I don't want you to do the reserves. I want you to be my assistant. I said, yeah, okay, no problem, brilliant. I really appreciate it. So I was about to start, and then Gary's dad, Nev, Gary phoned me. He said they started the youth team, because they disbanded the youth team at Bury in 2003. He said, but they're getting it back up and going. Would you be interested in doing the youth team coach's job there, head of youth there? He said it's full time, because Brent, the bake-up stuff was only part time. And I said, yeah, I've just accepted this other role, but let me speak to Brent. And Brent was great. He said, no, I totally understand, it's full time, and like I say, my dad worked there before, and you know, really good times there. So I was a youth team coach for 2 years at Bury. I had some really good players, a lad called Nicky Adams, David Buchanan. Got a lad who's still playing actually for Derby, a lad called Colin Kazim Richards. We had some characters in there, some really good, but there were good days as well. You know, there wasn't a lot of money or anything like that, but it's just, you know, regular coaching and good lads, good to be involved in the club.
I suppose as well, knowing that your dad had been there and all that, it's nice.
It's not changed.
Really?
Some of the people were still there. A lot of the staff was still, well, they didn't have a lot of staff, but
yeah.
You know, Joan on the front desk, and Michael the groundsman and people like that, they're still there. It was brilliant. And after the first 2 years, I was, how old was I then? I was 28, 29, and I said to the manager, look, you know, if you need any help with the first team, just give us a shout, like, you know. And he was great. Graham Barrow was a really good man, Graham, and he brought a guy called Ray Mathias in. Ray was he was manager of Tranmere for a long time, Ray, and good guy. So I got involved with the reserves and whatever. Anyway, we started the season, the first team, and we've played all the top teams, Carlisle, Northampton, all the teams that got promoted in that season. So we've had a really tough start. Boston spent fortunes on Noel Whelan and Jason Lee and people like that. And we drew with them on the Saturday. It was the 10th game. We drew one each. So Monday morning, I'm in my office, and it's just a poky little office underneath the tunnel. So I'm scribbling away, doing my session plan. And Graham knocks on the door, walks in. He said, just to let you know, I've been sacked. I was gutted. I mean, you know, good man, really good man. He said, and the directors didn't have a chairman. That one of the directors wants to see you. I'm thinking, I'm going with him as well. Like, you know, it's like, there's only two ways. There's two things that can happen. Either one, they're going to have to take me, you know, ask me to take charge for a bit till they find another manager. But I'm only 30. Or two, they're going to have a clean sweep and make a fresh start. So the guy called Ian Harrop, he said, I know you've spoken to Graham, unfortunately, you'll know that he's been sacked. I said, yeah. He said, we've got a game Saturday against Oxford. You know, we need someone to take the team, and we'd like you to take the team. And I said, I was relieved, obviously, and I said, yeah, no problem. I said, but I don't want the job. And he looked at me, I was really surprised. And as I was saying, I'm thinking, why am I saying that? I was trying to get the words back in my mouth. What are you doing? And I went home and I spoke to my dad, obviously, and that. And I said, you know, I said I don't want the job. Why did you say that? I said, things out of respect for Graham. You know, that I didn't want to be, you know, seen to be stepped. He said, that's football, that. You know, that happens. People get sacked. I got sacked 2.5 years later. It happens. So we went to Oxford, and Oxford quite a big club for that division in League Two. We're 4 points adrift at the bottom of the league at this stage. We're struggling, and there's a big crowd there, quite a big crowd there. My first ever managerial game, we're 2-0 down after 5 minutes.
Oh shit!
I definitely don't want the job now. And to be fair though, we changed one or two things around. Didn't have an assistant, so we lost the game 2-1. I thought we've done okay there. Second half, we played Bristol Rovers on the Tuesday. Again, Bristol Rovers, big club for the for the division. Played them at home. We beat them 1-0. And all of a sudden you think, I'll be all right here.
Yeah.
Good results at Riston and Diamonds away, and Lincoln, and went for the interview. The guy asked me, do you want to have an interview? I said no. I went back to him. I said, listen, I've probably been a bit hasty. I quite like the idea of having a go at this. So I got interviewed, and then got interviewed in 2 interviews, and then got given the job.
But
my first job in charge was Darlington at home. And the day before, in a training session, the striker got injured. I was like, we hardly get anybody. So there was a kid who had come through the ranks with me, a lad called Nicky Adams. And you've definitely got to get Nicky on here, by the way, because he has got some stories. A brilliant lad. And I said to him before, he was in the squad and whatever, I said, how are you feeling? He went, yeah, good. I said, you're playing today? He went, what? I said, you're playing? Went out, we beat him 1-0, and Nicky scored the winner, came running over. It was brilliant. I still get goosebumps now thinking about it, the first ever game. And he's gone on to have a great career, Nicky, and he's played about 500-600 games now, still playing.
Oh. Did you enjoy the management as much as the playing, or could you compare the two? Or
no, it wasn't like playing. It's different in a lot of ways, obviously, because as a player, you are the most selfish person in the world. Do not care about anybody else. You really, genuinely, as long as you're okay, and footballers are selfish, and they have to be selfish. And they'll say, yeah, play for the team, whatever. A lot of nonsense. They play for themselves because that's their career. Yeah, that's how they earn money. And players will turn around and say, yeah, I scored, but the team lost and whatever. Give me that. He's happy he scored. Don't worry about that. So. But as a manager, then you're looking after all these players, and you're looking after the staff, and so the final game of the season, we'd had some good results, and then what we used to have to do at Bury is normally the year before we'd sold David Nugent to Preston, so in the January I had to sell Simon Whaley, our best player, who was on fire, to Preston as well. So he's gone from League 2 to the Championship. Shows how good. And we struggled to recover from it. And brought Casper Schmeichel in, 1 or 2 pretty decent signings towards the end of the season. So the last game of the season, the 7 of us can go down out of the league.
Jesus.
Out of the league. And you the responsibility on your shoulders, because you're not just responsible for yourself, you're responsible for the players, but more importantly probably the staff as well at the club.
The livelihood.
Livelihood, because if you go out of the league, chances are we're going under, we're buried, we're in a lot of trouble, definitely going part-time. The other thing was, we'd played an ineligible player a couple of weeks before at Lincoln. He was 1 day past his at the end of his loan. I wasn't aware. I didn't know. It's normally other people deal with that and tell you that this loan's finished and whatever. Do you want to renew it? Blah blah blah. Didn't happen. So we're 1-0 up at Lincoln, and with 15 minutes to go, I put the player on. They score, and I find out on the Monday that he was illegible. He wasn't. He shouldn't have been on the pitch. I said, well, what's going to happen? He said, well, probably get points deducted. So I'm going into the last game of the season, and I have to keep this to myself. Nobody knows about it. I couldn't let anybody know. I couldn't let the players know. I couldn't let my assistant know. Nobody knew about it. We just had to keep it, within the confines of the boardroom, basically. So I'm thinking, even though we were at the top of that 7, but you never know in football. So we're playing Notts County, who are underneath us. So after 88 minutes. We are cruising. We're 2-0 up, absolutely cruising. And 2 of the lads who had left out, they weren't 100% fit. I thought they'd be able to 5 minutes to fine, just do a job, come on for us. And they should have come on for us. put them on. 30 seconds later, goal 2-1, and all of a sudden Notts County, and again a big club for that league, is absolutely bouncing now. It's packed. It's 15,000 there. And I'm thinking, shit. First minute of injury time. Last minute of normal time. Lad goes through, pokes it past Schmeichel, brings him down, penalty, 2 each. We both only need a point, right? And I know Mike Whitlaw on their bench, and they're going, get it forward. I'm like, we only need a point each, like, you know. Come on. You know, he's like, get it forward. I'm like, bloody hell. The fourth official holds 5 minutes up, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done here? Anyway, we saw it out, but I'm still thinking we could still go down here
with these points. Yeah.
Anyway, they took the point off us, which was a joke, because it happened so. Because that, you know, the admin at that levels can be, you know, people do miss things and whatever. Cause just not got enough staff. And we knew of all these other cases that they'd been fined, and that was it. Blah, blah. They took the point off us. So
did you go down then? Or
no, we stayed up.
Managed to stay up still.
To stay up. Yeah, we drew the game.
That would have been a travesty. That if that point was
that was it. I'm thinking, you know, I'll get the blame for it. Probably rightly so, or whatever. You know, you've stayed up, but then you've played an eligible player and you've got relegated, and all the way, you know, for those couple of weeks that I knew leading up to the game.
A lot of pressure.
Every game was highly pressured, but even more so because I knew what was coming. Potentially could have been coming.
God, must have been out. Hey, Oppo, what are you doing, buddy? So, mate, I'm conscious of the time because I know we've been going 2 hours now already, and I know you've got to jump back. You've got a big journey ahead of you anyway. So, what? You're sports director now, aren't you, at Salford City?
Yeah.
What does that involve then?
Probably the best way to explain it is you're a conductor or a helicopter overlooking all the different departments of the football side of things. So coaching, sports science and medicine, video analysis, academy, ladies team. Basically, you're overseeing that. You're not actually telling them what to do because they're the people that the experts really. Got an idea.
Yeah.
So it's kind of helping them, supporting them, and actually identifying the best staff to be able to deliver what you think or what the club needs to be able to move forward. So you're overseeing that, and they're reporting to you basically.
Right.
And obviously recruitment's a big part of that as well. First team recruitment. So you're working with the manager.
Yeah.
Working with the head of scouting, and basically identifying players that fits the football philosophy of the club. So it goes back a step. So we have an idea on the way that we want to play. You know, the owners, etc. So the club knows how they want to play. So you actually recruit and manage. The way it works is you recruit a manager to fit your playing style and your football philosophy. So there can't be any of that. Well, you know, the club want to play one way, and you brought a manager in. Well, you know, if he doesn't fit your philosophy, well, don't be surprised if you start playing football that you don't like or you don't recognise, because that's it. So that's where it goes to. So that's where it all goes back to. So Michael Edwards at Liverpool, for example, they'd have done a lot of work before they brought Jurgen Klopp in, knowing the way they was going to play and whatever. But then they will work closely on, you know, with Barry Hunter and people like that. On the scouting side of things and the recruitment side of things, to make sure that they're all joined up, bringing the players in. And ultimately, what you can do is you supply targets for the manager. He'll come probably with his own suggestions, but it's the scouting department to bring forward the targets and the suggestions for the manager. And there's this thing in Europe where I think the sporting director is renowned for picking the players who's actually signed. I mean, that just can't work. It can't work in this country anyway. I couldn't work like that. I couldn't give a player to Richie Wellens and say, well, you know, we're going to sign this player. He turns around and says, yeah, I don't really like him. I don't think he's what we need. I'm going to sign him anyway. Doesn't make sense. So at the end of the day, the manager has final say on who we actually sign. We make the suggestions and bring the targets forward.
What's it like with obviously the owners as well? There's big ambitions. I mean, what is the plan? I mean, is the sky the limit? You know, Premier League, that's where you want to...
Yeah, I mean, you know, as they did in their careers, you know, they achieved sometimes what seemed to be the impossible at times. You know, they had fantastic playing careers, and you know, nothing's, you know, why should it not be why should it not be possible to be successful? So that's the ambition, and you know, the one thing you do get, and you know, the manager gets and I get, is really well supported. You know, financially as well, to be able to move the club forward. You know, there's the 6 lads, and then the other main owner is Peter Lim, who's a Singapore business guy, and again takes a big interest in it. You know, he's got a lot of businesses and a lot of other things going on in other parts of the world, and obviously lives in Singapore. But you know,
it's exciting, mate, considering, like we said, that I can't remember if it was at the start of the pod or off air, but it's 5 points off top spot.
Yeah. And the thing is, over the last, you look back, and hindsight's always great, and what ifs. But actually, we've been, if we'd have stopped the games exactly on 90 minutes, I think we'd have been 2 points clear of everybody. We've lost about 7 or 8 points in injury time.
Really?
We were 1-0 up at Morecambe last Tuesday.
I'm bet on you most weeks, to be honest. Right now.
Who's to blame then? A week last Tuesday, we're 1-0 up and cruising in the game.
Yeah.
The referee makes a couple of, I wouldn't say dodgy decisions, but quite strange decisions. And we're 4 minutes into injury time. There's only 5 minutes injury time. 4 minutes, they score. So he adds another minute on for the celebrations. A goal. Get the ball straight down, score again, and beat us 2-1. I mean, to have drawn the game, you'd have been spewing, but to lose it, and Harrogate were the same. They scored in injury time. Newport, who were one of our main competitors, scored in injury time. Tranmere scored in injury time. You know, you think flipping.
You know, you need, Chris. You need a motivational speaker to come in.
Absolutely, yeah,
mate. One thing as well, mate, what did you say the story about Carragher or something you said?
Oh, yeah. So we were only young lads, and we were fortunate enough to be captain of our clubs, our reserve teams, and that's it. We were only young lads, really, probably about 18, 19. We were playing at Gig Lane, and so I come walking up to the referee for the toss-up at the start of the game. And Carragher's walking up as well, and one of our warm-up balls rolls towards him, and he gets inside. He probably gets about 5 or 6 yards away from the referee, and side foots this ball straight into the referee's nuts. I was killing him, and he's not like, it wasn't an accident. You could see, like, you know, he's hit it perfectly. I can just say, I'm thinking, he's not going to do what. He just went bang. His bollocks.
What was he like to play against?
He was shit, wasn't he?
Yeah.
No, to be fair, I mean, we never really, because I was a defender, he was a defender, so we never really came into too much contact with each other. I do remember once, and I don't think he was playing, we played a game at Anfield, and the two teams were brilliant. I mean, some really good players. We had Andy Cole playing, and Brian McClare, and Dion Dublin, and they had Michael Owen, and Razor Ruddock played centre half, and he went through Andy Cole, and I think he broke both his legs in the same tackle. It was horrendous.
Jesus.
It was horrendous. He was marking. I went forward for a corner, and he was marking me, and literally I went up for a header, and as I jumped, he just lifted me and just body slammed me. But yeah, I mean, those. You know, in those days, it wasn't the under-23s like you see now. They were proper games.
Yeah.
Really tough. They were tough games. But yeah, no, I mean, he had a great career, Jamie, didn't he? And good luck to him.
Chris, I could talk football with you all night, mate. It's I feel very lucky to have sat in your company, mate. And
it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
And grilled you about your time, mate. And again, I'm a football nut. I love hearing footy stories, but on a personal note, mate, about what you've been through and how you've kept so positive and what you've achieved since and what you're achieving now. It's brilliant to see. It's inspirational, mate. So thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you, sir. Anything you want to, just before we dart, anything you want to push? Anything you want to mention?
Salford's promotion push, that's what I'm pushing.
No, just I can't believe it's been 2 hours. It's been fascinating.
2 hours, 10 minutes as well.
Fascinating. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good stuff, mate.
Chris.
All night. But you're coming in. You've got to get your.
I'll be there. Get your money on Salford after my tour. I'm telling you.
Thank you so much, mate. Thank you.
No, I'm not.